morning. It is April 8th. Today we are going to find a missing piece of information given the volume by using the formulas and doing algebra. So the past couple days we've calculated the volume. Now we're going to be given the volume and be asked to find another piece of information. So let's take a look at number one. Again, this is volume with algebra in your volume and three-dimensional objects packet. A brick is in the shape of a rectangular prism that has a base that measures 3 inches by 5 inches. The volume of the brick is 90. So we're talking about the volume of a rectangular prism. I go to my reference sheet. I'm going to update my reference sheet. Remember, we said that we're going to cross out the pyramid. V equals 1/3 length times width times height. So we're going to cross out general prism. We're going to write area of the base times the height. And we're going to write in rectangular prism. V equals length times width times height. So rectangular prism is length times width times height. Now it's saying the volume is 90. So I'm replacing V with 90. The base measures 3 inches by 5 inches. That's the length and the width. It's asking for the height. So I'm doing the same thing I did in yesterday's lesson, but now I am just putting V in if it gives me V. Now to solve this, I can't just put into the calculator. I have to do algebra. So 3 times 5 is 15. To get h by itself, I divide both sides by 15. H is 6. That's it. It's all the same procedure. Depending on the formula, the algebra might be a little more challenging or a little bit less challenging. So let's go through a couple more. A right circular cylinder has a volume of 1,000. Volume of a cylinder. I go to my reference sheet, volume of a cylinder. V equals pi r squared h. The volume's 1,000, so I replace V with 1,000. Pi, it's asking for the radius, so that's r. The height, it says, is 8. It wants me to solve for r, so I have to do algebra. To get r by itself, I'm going to divide both sides by 8 pi. R squared equals, I'm going to go to my calculator, I'm going to type in 1,000 divided by 8 pi. Make sure you're using alpha y equals enter. If you don't, you might get this wrong. 1,000 divided by 8 pi. Now, something we're going to talk about now, you don't want to round until the very end. So don't round it at this point. What I'm going to do is I'm going to write 39 ... What that means is there's more to come. So basically it's 39.7887357, but I don't have to write it all out. Now I'm going to take the square root to get rid of the squared. That's algebra. So I'm doing the square root not of 39, but the square root of this whole thing. So to do that, I hit second radical for my square root, and to copy and paste it, I tab up so it's highlighted. I hit enter. It automatically copies and pastes it for me. It wants the answer to the nearest tenth, 6.3. So don't round until the very end, and just keep on copying and pasting that answer. And when you're writing it onto your sheet, just write ... That's representing that there's more digits that are coming after it. All right. Sphere. It's telling me the volume of a sphere. So I go to my reference sheet. Volume of a sphere, V equals 4/3 pi r cubed. So the volume is 576 pi equals 4/3 pi r cubed. So the algebra on this one's a little tricky, which is why I'm going to go over it. So first off, to get rid of fractions, you learned back in algebra. I don't like this 4/3, so I multiply by the LCD. the least common denominator, which is 3. So 3 times 576, and so 3 times 576, I can use my calculator. Is 1728. So it's 1728 pi equals 4 pi r cubed. So that's an algebra thing. To get rid of fractions, I multiply by the least common denominator. If there is only one denominator, that's your least common denominator. Now, you see how I have pi's on both sides? I can just kind of cancel them out. So I have a 1728 equals 4r cubed. Next, to get r by itself, I divide by 4. 1728 divided by 4. 1728 divided by 4 is 432. Now, in the last example, to get rid of a squared, I do the square root. So if I get rid of a square by doing the square root, I get rid of the cubed by doing the cubed root. Do you remember how to type in cubed root from algebra last year? Probably not. So I'm going to show you. To type in cubed root, I hit math, option 4. I'm going to do that again. I'll do it with my mouse so you can, I think you can see my mouse. I'm going to hit math, option 4. That's how you type in cubed root. And then from there, I'm just going to type in 432. It wants the answer to the nearest tenth, 7.6. So the concept is simple. If they're talking about volume, you write down the appropriate formula. You substitute in the values that they give you. And then from there, you have to do algebra. You all passed algebra last year. Hopefully your algebra skills are good. If not, then you're just going to practice and look at the examples that I gave you. What else I want to go over with you? Let's take a look at 11. The pyramid shown below has a height of 7, a volume of 84. So we're talking about the volume of a pyramid. So volume of a pyramid, 1/3 length times width times height. So V equals 1/3 length times width times height. Now it's asking for a side of the base. Well, because it's a square base, the length and the width are the same. So since it's what it's asking for, I'm going to call that x, and that's going to be x as well. This is a very common question they ask. They give you a pyramid where the base is a square. You have to understand that a square has all sides the same. So my volume is 84. My length is x. My width is x. My height is 7. From here, I do algebra. So just like the last example, to get rid of that fraction, I'm going to multiply by the least common denominator. I'm going to multiply both sides by 3. That gets my denominator to cancel. 84 times 3, you can use the calculator if you want. That's 252. Equals x times x, 1 times x times x times 7 is 7x squared. Continue the algebra, divide both sides by 7, x squared equals 252. I'm going to do that on my own calculator. 252 divided by 7 is 36. Square root of both sides, x equals 6. So the point of me going over this example is when you have a square base, you have to understand the length and the width are the same. I want to take a look at the last few are a little wordy. Let's take a look at 16. This was on the Regents. I thought it was a hard question. So let's go through it, and then we'll go from there. When volleyballs are purchased, they are not fully inflated. A partially inflated volleyball can be modeled by a sphere whose volume is approximately 180 cubic inches. after being fully inflated, its volume is approximately 294 cubic inches. So I've got two spheres. I got sphere 1 and I got sphere 2. Sphere 1 is the partially inflated and sphere 2 is the fully inflated. So that's partial and that's full. So my sphere again is, I go to my reference sheet, 4/3 pi r cubed. So for each of them, I'm going to write v equals 4/3 pi r cubed. V equals 4/3 pi r cubed. For sphere 1, the volume is 180. For sphere 2, it's 294. Now it's asking how much the radius increases. So I need to find the radius of the partial, I need to find the radius of the full, and then subtract them. So I'll give you a little bit of a head start on doing the algebra. I'll give you about 30-45 second head start. Solve each of these for R. Okay. Multiply by the least common denominator. 540 equals 4 pi r cubed. 3 times 294. I'm going to use my calculator for that, because I don't know what that is. 882 equals 4 pi r cubed. Divide by 4. Divide by 4 pi. So I'm going to use my calculator for, I'm going to show you what I'm typing in at this point. So 540 over 4 pi. (42 ... To get rid of the cube, I do the cubed root. So again, cubed root is math 4. I'm going to copy and paste that by highlighting it. It says to the nearest 10, so that's going to be, I'm just going to write 3.5 ... for now. Again, I don't want to round until the very end. Now I'm going to go to my other one, 882 divided by 4 pi. (70 ... equals r cubed, cubed root, math 4, copy and paste, r equals 4 ... So how much does it increase? Well, I'm going to do, let's find some space. I'm going to do my 4 ... minus my 3.5 ... Again, I'm not rounding anything. I'm just going to copy and paste those values in the calculator. So I'm going to do my 4 minus my other answer. I get 0.6223. It wants me to round to the nearest 10th. So you know, they can give you different types of questions based on this, but if they give you the volumes, we're going to substitute into the formulas, and then we're going to do algebra. Your classwork slash homework is to finish volume with algebra. Even though it's a one-day lesson, I'm going to give you an extra day to complete your quiz. So I'm going to make your quiz due tomorrow instead of tonight, although I suggest that you get it done tonight. That's it. If you have any questions, reach out to me and remind, and have a great day.